Not only will I show you how to create synth pop music like Chvrches in this tutorial, but I'll also show you how you can download some free Serum presets that sound like the exact synth patches used in real Chvrches songs. So keep watching all the way to the end. So here is the track real quick. I'll just play a little bit of it so you can kind of hear what we're aiming to create here.
In the shadows where whispers lie, hearts break yet no one asks why. In the darkness, a flicker, a spark. In the distance, a glow in the dark. Hold on to the fragile, the pure, the rare. In the face of chaos, you know you care. Goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads. Through the night, be the light. Goodness. In the shadows, where
So the three kind of elements you want to create a Chvrches style song is you want to have those lush synths, a driving beat, and those ethereal vocals. Starting with the synths, Chvrches uses a lot of analog synthesizers in their music, including the Juno 106, Korg MS-20, Korg Poly 6, Roland Jupiter 8, Moog Voyager, Prophet 5, and others. So set aside, tens of thousands of dollars so you can go out and buy all those analog synths. No, that is not feasible. So instead, we're going to want to use digital synths that kind of emulate the analog sound. And there's some great synth packs out there. One I really like is called Syntronic 2 by IK Multimedia. You can see all the different kind of synthesizers that are emulated here. This one emulates the Prophet 5, which I mentioned is one of the actual hardware synths that Chvrches uses. So if you look at this, you can see all the different emulations here. And these aren't like one for one, like actual synths. These are usually like combinations of synths, like the Pro V. I know it's like the Prophet 5. I don't know if that's just a Prophet 5 or some other Prophets. Like the M Poly, I think that's a combination of a couple different Korg synths, and including the Korg Poly 6. They have a bunch of different sounds that are actual, sounds from these synthesizers, these analog synthesizers. So this is really great. You can check it out. I have a link in the description below. Or even better, use some synth presets that are modeled after actual sounds used by the band Chvrches. So I have a free Chvrches Serum synth pack that you can check out. I'm using that for a bunch of sounds here. So this was created by my friend Daniel with Synth Ctrl. Here is the pack right here, Chvrches. These are all sounds that are modeled after the actual sounds in those songs. For example, the bass from Gun, the lead from Gun, the bass from He Said, She Said, keys from He Said, She Said, Leave a Trace, Bury It. So really great sounds here. I'm using a bunch of these in this track. So if you want to get this, go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/Chvrches. Again, also linked below. So this is a really great preset pack that you can use for your sounds. I'm using a bunch of them here so you can hear. I'll share a couple of them real quick. So this is the He Said, She Said keys. And we got the Gun lead here. And I'll go through these more later in this tutorial, but you can see really great sounds, so definitely check those out. So I found Chvrches, they tend to have a more loose, maybe a little bouncier verse, and then a more driving chorus, and maybe like kind of an ethereal bridge or something. So that's kind of what I tried to follow here. Starting off with the bass sound here, so I'm using this He Said, She Said bass as the sub bass. I'm using two bass layers. So I have the sub bass here, it's taking up the actual sub bass frequencies, and then I have this Gun bass that has the higher bass frequencies, and I'm cutting out those low so I can make this a little bit wider. I don't have to worry about phase issues. So here is the He Said, She Said bass. It's a pretty simple pattern, and it's following the pads, I believe. Yeah. Just following that. And I don't really have a ton of effects on here. I'm just making sure it's mono. With that, I got a little bit of compression on it. I think I want to try to take out that knocking sound. And of course, that's layered with this gun bass. I'll take off the effects real quick. It sounds like that. And then I add some even more distortion to it with this free Szechuan saturator. So that's really nice. A little bit of analog style EQ, just boosting those high mids and the low lows, and got some saturation on. Some Tal Chorus, this is a free plugin to kind of beef it up and widen it. And then just EQ to take out those lows, because the sub bass is handling that. And then on the bass bus, I've got some a harmonic enhancer here, so that kind of can help the bass stand out on smaller speakers. I did a full review on this Denise Audio Bass XXL plugin. But if you don't have this, you can use like saturation or any other harmonic enhancer that you have. So I'm just kind of boosting those high harmonics here. Just kind of makes the bass more present. Just a little bit of compression, again, to kind of glue both those bass sounds together. So that's it for like the chorus here. Then for the verse, we got a much bouncier bass, kind of doing the same thing, the same gun bass here, only I'm not having that chorus plugin on it, so it's a little bit narrower, not quite as wide. So I'm kind of trying to create that contrast between the verse and the chorus. So I'm having it loosely just follow the bass note here of the chords. I just kind of chopped it up and syncopated it, made it a little more bouncy. It's a little more fun. And then to help with the transition between the first verse and the second chorus, I have the bass completely just taken out there. It's kind of a little transition trick. And then, so for most of the song, the bass is all, you know, very choppy or bouncy, not very sustained. So the exception here is the bridge to kind of create that more ethereal feel. Of course, the irony is it's flipped because now the chords are more chopped up there. I think they're playing like eighth notes or quarter notes. So again, just following the bass note. It's a little bit chopped up. Don't have a whole lot of automation going on actually. Just the sidechain compression is only during the choruses. So that's what makes it kind of pump. I'm using the one knob pumper by Waves. So it just adds more energy and excitement, movement. And so that's it for the bass. Then we'll move on to the pads here. And I'm using a couple of pads from that, again, from that Chvrches Serum preset pack. So starting off, I'm using the he said, she said keys here, which are a little bit more reserved, at least when the cutoff's on, filter cutoff. So nice and lush. So you got this kind of like basic sawtooth shape here mixed with a sine wave. I also have the one knob pumper on there for the chorus. So if we go during the verse, it doesn't have that on. It's a really nice kind of analog sound. And here's the pattern for the chords. Looks like I used a preset pack here to kind of just create these chords, and I probably moved the notes around a little bit. It's supposed to be a 6, 7, 1, 3 pattern, but I chopped up the 3 and added some extra little transition kind of chords there. Just making it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more movement. And then it's during it's not until the second chorus when the next layer comes in, the get out keys from the Serum preset pack. And these are a lot bigger, even more lush. And they have like the filter opening up over the course of 8 bars automatically. You can see it's doing it on its own with the LFO, I'm guessing. So if we combine these two, so you can see very simple chord progression again. Much more simple during the chorus, because I feel like that adds the more kind of hypnotic nature, more helps with create more like driving feel to the chorus, I guess. Trying to explain that. And the bridge is just kind of this, just playing those quarter notes. I think that might actually be an actual like chord progression from one of their songs. I can't remember, because you can't copyright chords. So if you want to sound like Chvrches, use some actual Chvrches chords. I think that's it. Otherwise, what's going on? I got some automation going on with the cutoff. So in the beginning of the song, it's more closed. And you can see by the end of the song, it's more open. So there's a progression of energy throughout the song. And then there's also on a micro scale, it's closed more for the verses and more open for the choruses. And then effects wise, what do we got on here? We just got some saturation, just kind of adding saturation to all these sounds to kind of get more of that analog feel, because those analog synthesizers have, just by the nature of them being physical units with electricity flowing through them, it adds saturation. So I'm adding some tube saturation with this, so we can hear what that sounds like without and with it in. Very subtle, but it adds a little bit of warmth, right? Doesn't really matter what kind of saturation you use, just kind of throw on some saturation. I'm doing that for both of these because it adds up over the time and more use. I'm also using quite a bit of reverb, it looks like, on here. So I'm using Valhalla Super Massive for the synth wider. That's what without. So that definitely helps make it more lush. And then another Valhalla Super Massive for, it looks like, a delay. So that's pretty cool. Another free plugin, by the way, Valhalla Super Massive. It's an awesome free reverb, especially for creating like spacey, lush sounds. This is just the filter, closing and opening. And then just some EQ to make sure that only my bass and my drums are to occupying those really low bass frequencies. And then to the pad bus here, I'm just adding some tape saturation. So. Again, very subtle, but just adding some more compression and saturation. Kind of just EQ. Kind of just helping carve out a space for the pads. And then we got the pumper during the choruses. So pretty simple. Then we have the Arps here. And for these, I'm actually using Syntronic for kind of more plucky sounds. I'm using this Mill Valley Pluck, which is from like a Prophet 5 emulation. And then I'm also using this video game M12 Kalimba preset from the M12. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be an emulation of. And I've got these slightly panned. So here's what the Prophet one sounds like. So just kind of add more to the groove, add more to the ethereal nature of the track. I try to keep them mostly in the background. So you can't hear them too much unless you're really listening for them, but you really miss them if they're gone. That's without them. And then we just have the, again, cutoff increasing to help add that energy, and over time. And then I think for this one, we also got this lo-fi effect, bandwidth changing over time too. So if we listen to that, you can hear the bandwidth changes. Just kind of enhances the lo-fi nature there. That's about it. Effects, big. We got, again, some saturation on both of these. And a big one is this Comeback Kid delay. Adding some dotted eighth note delay so we can hear without that. It makes a big difference. It's very subtle because we've got it high and low cut, so it's kind of like a telephone type sound of a delay. Also add some tape saturation to it as well. And it's just kind of creates almost like a cloud around it, which I think just enhances the ethereal nature of the sound. Helps just kind of fill out the space. And that's on both of those. And then on the ARP bus, we just have some more tape saturation, some compression, EQ to kind of take out the high and the lows and kind of take out some of those annoying sounds with those plucks, because those can get really annoying sometimes. And adding some tremolo to kind of help create some movement. That kind of creates a little bit more of a back and forth sound. And then we got that sidechain pumper compression as well during the choruses only again. And then we've got some vintage reverb. I know the Valhalla Vintage Verb is a reverb that Chvrches actually uses, so I tried to use that in this track here and there. And then I think that's about it. And all right, as far as the patterns go, I kind of just played something on my keyboard that just seemed to fit. I don't know what else to tell you. But then I do have it kind of like chop up to fit with what the chords are doing here, and the drums and the bass, having these all elements kind of play together. And then the vocals do the same thing, that each kind of syllable hits according to that like kind of syncopated rhythm.
A glow in the dark. Hold on to the fragile, the pure, the rare. In the face of chaos, you know you care.
So that's pretty much it for that. Big thing during the bridge is we kind of add in a new element here. Kind of I have this little ARP sound, which is the same kalimba, just with an ARP put on it using the ARP tool here in Logic Pro. Very ethereal. Actually, now that I listen to it, it's a little dark. And then the other ARPs come in. Just kind of creating a building of energy. System overload. And I probably want to play with this a little bit more because I still find this sound annoying a bit. That's better. And they go up an octave here at the very end of the chorus to again increase that energy. So you can hear that here. So that versus. just an arrangement thing coming out of the bridge, instead of just going straight into like the chorus like we've heard previously in the other two choruses, how the chorus starts. I got this kind of just like a little interlude here where it kind of breaks down. I kind of call this like the Taco Bell approach to song arrangement, right? Taco Bell is kind of famous for having all their different meal items have all the same ingredients, or just kind of arranged differently. That's what I kind of like to take with my song, which is rather than like trying to add something new all the time, or just add layer upon layer, you just take what you already have and you find different combinations. So this is like the song without any drums, without any bass, without any arps, without any leads, and there is some vocals. But the vocals are sung differently, and there are just some random drum hits in here just to emphasize the changing of the chords as the chord pattern changes. So you can kind of hear it, just kind of something a little bit unexpected, just a little bit of ear candy, makes things, sound a little bit more fresh.
Goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads. Goodness in silent deeds, where the
And we just got the outro here. Where everything just kind of closes down all the filters. Pretty simple. And then a cool thing to do is you have it resolve, right? So this is like this same chord pattern, and then it would resolve back to, I don't know if this is the one, no, but whatever, you want your chord progression to resolve to, it sounds resolved. For example, this would just be this like chord right here. You see how it like repeats. I just drop it down an octave and it sounds really nice as an outro. So this is the same chord as right here. It's just on an octave. That's kind of a good outro. Then lastly, we got the leads here. And I just pulled out my MIDI keyboard and just played notes that I thought sounded good. I'm using the gun lead here from the Chvrches preset pack. Didn't really do too much to it. It's nice and kind of distorted lead. So if you don't want to use this, just find some kind of distorted synth lead is great. And I'm combining that with the Leave a Trace lead, which is a little bit more plucky. And then I added this delay to it to have it kind of create more movement. And then I have these leads in here at the end of the verses, so you might want to do this too. Which sounded nice, but it kind of clashed with the vocals too much. So typically you want to have either a lead or your vocals playing it, or you want to have them overlapping, although I do overlap them a little bit here in the verses. That's pretty simple. Same lead plays here in the chorus, but I added another layer. This is the Take On Me lead, which is actually from another, I think, free Serum pack by Synth Ctrl. So that's really cool. And then I've got the bridge leads here, where I try to have it be more like loose, more elongated, more sustained, more ethereal kind of sounding, and having kind of increase in pitch. Another big thing I did here with automation was with the reverb. You can see the reverb here. I boom, pull the wetness all the way up for these reverbs with these really big like reverb tails that wash over. And just adds to the ethereal nature of the track and kind of helps things feel more cohesive, because you don't just have like chorus, verse, they kind of overlap a bit there. And then I'm adding a whole bunch of more leads here at the final chorus to kind of make things more interesting. So I'm adding this like Syntronic, like robot beeping kind of sound from the Prophet 5 here in Syntronic. It's a saw AM. So you can hear how that sounds. Just screams analog, just get more of that analog feel in there. And then I've got more leave a trace. I think these are harmonies. So I'm taking like certain notes out of the kind of the lead melody here. I'm just pulling those out, and then I just created a harmony, it looks like, and then dropped it, then moved it up an octave. This is the same sound here, the leave a trace. This makes it a little bit wider, and then I've also got this sound here, which is from Baby Audio's BA1 analog brass. So more of an analog sound. It's very subtle. So this is a completely different pattern too. So I'm not sure if I want to leave the old pattern in or not, because that might cause too much conflict. It's subtle because it's kind of pushing it to the background, but I might want to leave that to like the very outro here. And that takes us to the vocals. I didn't do a whole lot here with the vocals. I didn't have time to tune the vocals, so I just threw some auto tune on. This is kind of my go-to vocal EQing that I do for my vocals. You want those really ethereal, kind of bright vocals, so you have that high, boosting those highs there. And then I got just some compression here, doing quite a bit of compression.
In the shadows where whispers lie, hearts break it.
And then I've got this waves voice centric to add some doubling, some delay and reverb, and some more EQ and compression. It's just a really nice all-around vocal plugin. I did a full review on this. I'll have that link below. And then to make it even more ethereal, I added some of this Tau Reverb 4. This is a free reverb plugin. Just makes a really great kind of like 80s ethereal reverb. I just like to low cut a ton so those lows aren't being reverberated, and same thing with those high highs. So it's just those mids, and it creates this kind of really ethereal sound you can hear without it and with it in.
In the shadows where whispers lie, hearts break yet no one asks why. In the darkness
this might be something that'd be good to experiment with automation, the wet. So it's maybe more dry at certain parts and then more wet at other parts.
in the shadows where whispers lie.
That's pretty cool. And then by the way, for the lyrics, I just used ChatGPT because I had to get this video done and didn't have time to write lyrics. So if I want to release this song, I'll probably rewrite the lyrics, but that's how I just told ChatGPT to write the lyrics for a song in the style of Chvrches. And then we've got this Comeback Kid delay, kind of last thing here.
In the shadows where whispers
Just a straight quarter note delay. Again, the high and low cut, some saturation, ducking on, which is really great. So that it only comes in the gaps between the dry vocal there. So you can kind of hear it echoing out, which is kind of cool to fill those gaps.
in the shadows where whispers lie, hearts break yet no one asks why. In the darkness
You can hear the delay gets clamped down as soon as I start singing again, so you don't get that muddy mess with the delay there. And then another big thing is, maybe using some like vocoder sounds for your vocals to add more of that synthetic feel. And my new favorite plugin for that is Baby Audio's Humanoid, because it's so easy to use. I have a full tutorial on this. I'll have that link below, as well as links to all these plugins. And so we got this kind of background vocals here, kind of all the same effects, just I threw Humanoid on. So we'll hear that. pretty cool. If I turn that off, we'll hear what it sounds like. It probably sounds awful.
No one asks why.
Not too bad. Yeah, I'm sorry to subject you to these are my scratch vocals, and I'm not a great singer. I'd probably have my wife sing this, so sorry if the singing is horrible, but I wanted to kind of be able to demonstrate to you how to create these kind of more ethereal Chvrches style vocals, and how to create a cool vocoder sound. If you don't have humanoid, maybe your DAW has something built in. I know Logic has a built-in vocoder, or you can use the TAL vocoder, which is free. I did a full tutorial on how to use the free TAL vocoder plugin. I'll have that linked below. So don't worry if you don't have any of these plugins. There's always like free alternatives. So that's humanoid. And then we also got a layer here with the... I think I just copied that and just put it on the vocoder.
Goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads.
Obviously, these vocals need a lot of cleaning up. Again, these are scratch vocals, kind of more just focusing on the effects here. And then we got even another humanoid sound here, just a different preset.
Goodness.
Just kind of in the background. And for this second verse, I kind of just took the same part here and just brought it down here and created like harmonies just with the pitch tool. Or not that one. That's just, again, different humanoid sound. All right, I'm pretty sure I pitched these. I don't know why it's not showing up right now, but just created some harmonies there. Just kind of make it a little bit more, a little different. And then we have the bridge. Pretty straightforward here, but then I add some more layers here and just pan them left and right to make them wider, which would probably be a good thing to do, have more layering throughout, but just to save time, I didn't do that. And here I try to sing high, which may or may not like be very painful.
Shiver gentle. A gentle.
Okay, Logic hates it too.
A gentle. Goodness in silent deeds, where the
Obviously, that's just a kind of a style preference thing. I kind of like high, long, held out notes, which I'd probably have my wife sing that. Then we get into the chorus here. This is where I start creating more layers to kind of distinguish the final chorus. It's like the climax between the other choruses.
goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart. Goodness, goodness.
And then on the vocal bus, not a whole lot. Just quickly just threw on just a little compression to kind of glue everything together. Just another EQ to kind of shape everything, put everything in its space. Lastly, we arrive at the drums, and Chvrches uses a lot of drum machine sounds, especially maybe some retro drum machine sounds like the 808 or 909. I'm using some 909 here. Now, it's best if you could, you know, mix each and every one of these elements separately. I hadn't had the time to do that before doing this tutorial, so I'm kind of just treating this whole, I'm just doing group processing basically here. So I've added some drive and compression, even some bit crushing a little bit. Actually, I'm going to turn that down. Just some EQ, a little bit of reverb as well, like room reverb. So you can hear what these sound like. Oh, and also a big thing is like I added some gated reverb to the snare, as that's a common effect too. I'm just using this plugin since it's kind of a shorthand of getting some really good gated reverb. If you don't have this, I have a complete tutorial on how to set this up just using like a free reverb, how to do gated reverb. So I'll have that linked below. So here is kind of how it sounds without it. You can listen to that snare drum. Get that kind of big explosion of delay or of reverb. And then little in context. Now, Chvrches usually has pretty simple drum patterns. I probably overdid it with this song a little bit. But like, that's like Chvrches. Like, they might even not even have a whole lot of hi-hats in a lot of parts of their songs. So I did that, but it was sounding a little bit too dark. I mean, I could, you know, go and mix every individual drum element and stuff to make them better, which I probably should have done. But to save time, I just threw in this Beatmaker Candy by UJam, since this is one of my favorite plugins. And it's a good way to get some really good like pop style drums. And so those sound like this. And I add a lot of saturation to these. Might pull down the ambience a little bit. And then, so then we combine these, and here's how they sound. So you can hear the combination. It really makes them really big and beefy, which maybe isn't actually the most Chvrches sound now that I think about it, but I just liked it for this song. And then pattern wise, I mean, again, you want to keep it simple, probably simpler than what I did here. Like, this is pretty good. This is kind of churchy. And they do, I mean, it depends on the song, but a lot of times you can hear some of that kind of distortion, kind of distorted sounds. And so I like kind of what it sounds like here during the verse. And so then this little like dropout interlude section, I have the drum, just the kick and the snares hitting as the chords change. And then I just have this little fill here. So again, keeping it pretty simple. No drums in the bridge. It sounds like there's like a crash in there too. And then I double the speed of like the ride here at the end. Just to further emphasize that it is the climax of the song. And speaking of drum samples, I actually have a free vintage drum sample pack that I want to give you for free. And you can actually get this by when you sign up for that same link I mentioned earlier to get the free Serum presets. So that's orpheusAudioacademy.com/Chvrches. Not only will you get the free Serum Chvrches sample pack, but I'll also give you my free vintage drum sample pack as well. So definitely check out that link to get some awesome free sounds.
Whispers lie, hearts break yet no one asks why. In the darkness, a flicker, a spark. In the distance, a glow in the dark. Hold on to the fight, to the pure, the rare. In the face of chaos, you know you care. Goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads. Through the night, be a light. Good sigh in the battle of hearts, a lullaby. In the silence, where we make our stand, goodness is the touch of a gentle hand. A gentle in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads. Goodness in silent deeds, where the gentle heart leads. Through the night, be the light. Goodness, goodness, goodness,
By the way, I have a full course on how to write, produce, mix, and record your own professional quality music from home, start to finish, using the gear and plugins you already have. So if you want to learn more about this, as well as check out some free lessons from this course, I have a link in the description below that you can check out, or you can click the link on the screen right now. And if you like this tutorial, then be sure to check out my video playing on the screen right now, which is my tutorial on how to create a song that sounds like the synthwave band The Midnight, which just so happens to be my favorite band. So if you want to learn how to make synthwave music, then check out that video right now. With that, have an awesome day and keep creating.